a few points which generally asking for the UPSC examinations about the contribution of the Governor Generals. Today I will have the few minutes about that discussion, then we'll go back to again medieval periods. Okay. So the whatever question asked, otherwise giving more importance and stress on this UPSC questions, especially some questions, one or two questions can ask from this Governor General's contributions. And already I have sent the note on the Rohitwari, Mahalwari, and permanent settlements. This is one of the most important topic which UPSC gives stress there, because it is not only for NDA and many of the civil service examination also this question is coming there. Mahalwari, Rohitwari, and permanent settlements. You have to remember that one very clearly. I think already I sent the message there. You have to understand how this question asked there. No, permanent settlements, Zamindari and Rohitwari. They will ask these questions in such a way that which system is known as Zamindari, which has both features of Zamindari and non-Zamindari, where it was actually started. Okay. What was actually the features of the Zamindari questions? This is one of the expected questions for all the UPSC examinations. Can you hear me what I am telling, Vibhor Kumar? Vibhor? Vibhor, can you hear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine. So here, if question asker, Rohitwari, Mahalwari, or permanent settlements, which is known as a Zamindari system. That means Zamindar play very important role there. You have to remember immediately permanent settlements, which was started first in India in the year of 1793. So 1793, Cornwallis introduced this permanent settlement systems. That means tax was fixed for 10 years. Why do we call a Zamindari system? Because Zamindar as a middleman or mediator, he had to collect money from the farmers and must hand over to the East India Company there. That means 1/11. That means the whole tax was divided into 11, out of which one share can be taken by Zamindar. 10 out of 11 share must be given to East India Company. Okay, so few points only I am discussing. I am not taking much time about this permanent settlements. Permanent settlement by Cornwallis. Don't forget that point is very important. Second one which I discussed here, it is purely Zamindari system, and it happens in North India, not at all South India. Then question can ask reason and assertions. Why it is not practiced in South India? Because Zamindar, that system was not in prevalent in South India there. Okay, that is why it was happens only in North India there. Then if question asked, any South Indian state introduce the Zamindari system or not, then you write that one Coorg, otherwise Karnataka. Okay, actually this permanent settlements practiced in the northern India only, because Zamindari practice, Zamindar, landlord, that system was not in South India. It was only in North India there. That is why this permanent settlement became more popular in the North India only, not in South India. In case question asked, okay, any state in India permanent settlements, you have to remember Coorg, otherwise Karnataka only. Okay, so permanent settlements is also known as Zamindar. Because Zamindar is a middleman collecting tax from the farmers, giving to East India Company. It started by Cornwallis when he was a governor general. Don't forget. But he left the country 1793. 1793 only this permanent settlement started in our country. 1793. Don't forget. 1773 we discussed already, Regulating Act. 1793 he introduced John Shore, the next Governor General. He continued this system there. Okay, that means almost this permanent settlements is fixed revenue for 10 years. Why I want to give more stress on this point there? Because this is one of the expected question there. Permanent settlements. Okay, permanent settlements is a Zamindari system. It is started in northern India. It was introduced by the Cornwallis. It started in 1793, but he left the country. So John Shore, He continued this system there. This is purely Zamindari system. You have to remember always. And it was especially practiced, then very easy to remember. Okay, if the question asks, you have to remember the largest presidency in India during British period, Bengal, Bihar, Orissa regions, Varanasi or Benares. Here this permanent settlement became more popular there. So 1793, Cornwallis Zamindari system started in Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, Varanasi. Okay, don't forget, it is purely what is a permanent settlement. Here, who got benefit means Zamindar, not East India Company, not farmers. Zamindar got more what is a profit out of this permanent settlements because tax was fixed by East India Company. So whenever the production increase, productivity increase, so Zamindar got more profit out of which these permanent settlements. That is the first one. So permanent settlements, remember, Zamindari is happened only in North India, not in South India. You have to remember here Zamindar is the owner of the land there. Rohitwari just opposite. It was in the South India only, not in North India. Because in South India, this Rohit means you have cultivators. Rohit means cultivators or farmer or peasants. So Rohitwari just opposite. Permanent settlement North India, Rohitwari South India. Okay, Rohitwari system actually introduced by a persons which we call it as a Captain Alexander Reed there. After second Anglo-Mysore War in Karnataka region, Captain Alexander Reed, he started this system, Rohitwari system. But it became more popular in South India during the time of Thomas Munro, because Thomas Munro was the governor of Madras that times. That happens in 1820. 1820. That means around 1790s. 1780, 90s only this Captain Reed, he introduced the system in Karnataka, but it became more popular during the time of Thomas Munro. That is why Rohitwari system is also known as Munro system. Okay, so Rohitwari started, I told you, 1820, permanent settlement 1793. 1793, first one permanent settlements, Cornwallis was a governor general. Rohitwari system, you have to remember, 1820, that means how many years after you remember that one? Say around 1820. That means around 27 years after this Rohitwari system started in our country. That happens when the governor of Madras, he started giving more importance for this Rohitwari system. So Rohitwari system was also known as Munro system. But remember one thing, this was really started by Captain Alexander Reed in Karnataka region after Second Anglo-Mysore War. Don't forget, this point is very clear. Okay, Second Anglo-Mysore War, 1780-84. That time only, after that only, this Captain Alexander Reed, R-E-A-D, Reed, he only introduced the system, but it is only in the small areas. Thomas Munro felt it that one, it is good idea. So he introduced the whole South India there. Okay, don't forget. Then question asks, the Rohitwari system started in North India? Yes, it is also there. You have to remember always Assam, northeastern part. Northeastern part, it became very popular. Then which are the places in South? Remember Madras, Bombay, Coorg region. Coorg now it is known as Kodagu, and Sainik school also there. So Madras, Bombay. Madras, you know that one city is in South India only, Tamil Nadu only. Bombay, you know, Maharashtra regions. Then Coorg means, you know, that one's. It was also a part of Andhra Pradesh and all. So these are the South Indian state where this Rohitwari system became more important. But if question asks any northern state, then you have to remember Assam. Don't forget. I told you permanent settlements, remember Coorg, Karnataka. Rohitwari system, remember Assam, you have to remember. Opposite, you have to remember always. Okay, so Rohitwari system is actually cultivators, farmer directly giving tax to British officials. No mediator, no middleman. Okay, that means it's a very important point there. So directly they are giving. That means Rohit means cultivator. They will give tax directly to British officer who is appointed to collect tax. Here is a direct connection, direct link there. I am talking about a Rohitwari system. So permanent settlement and Rohitwari system just opposite. Permanent settlement North India, Zamindari system. Rohitwari South India, non-system, no Zamindar, no middleman. Okay, that was the things of Rohit Wali. But there is permanent settlement tax was fixed, whereas Rohit Wali at any times Britishers can increase the tax rates. Okay, so tax imposed was too high under Rohit Wali. Now I will talk about Mahalwari. Mahalwari, what is the specialty?
Sir,
It really happens. Somebody
sir,
talking? Yeah, tell
sir,
me.
one doubt, sir. Sir, in
Yeah,
the
ask
permanent
Karthik.
settlement, what was the ratio of that revenue which was shared between British and
1 by
zamindars?
1 by 11, 1 by 11 share, that is 1 by 11 share to Semindar, 10 by 11 share to East India Company. So that was a practice. But what happened? Problem, fixed tax was fixed there. So whenever the production increased, Semindar got more profit there because they start imposing more money from the farmers. They start collecting, but they will give only 10 by 11 to only the British East India Company. So here, they started getting more amount of money from the farmers. Sometimes the price of the commodities in the market also increased like anything. So all this benefit went to Semindar. So in this system, permanent settlements, who got more benefit means you have to always understand that when Semindar got more benefit there. But Rohitwari system also problem because British officials start imposing the money at any point of the times. It was not fixed there. Permanent settlement tax was fixed for 10 years. Whereas Rohitwari system, 10 year means not giving one time in a 10 year. Their tax is fixed for 10 years, but every year they have to pay that fixed amount. That is a practice under permanent settlements. But Rohitwari system, what is happened there? Any time they can increase the tax. So both were a burden for them only. Permanent settlements, Semindar asking money. Here, British officials coming and asking money under Rohitwari. Now, Mahalwari system having two features, both features. Rohitwari features also, permanent settlement features, both the mixed features we can see in the Mahalwari systems. Okay, then you have doubts, sir. Sir, who actually introduced this Mahalwari system? Actually speaking, it was introduced by a person, we call it as a Holt Mackenzie. That is a person actually introduced in the Uttar Pradesh. Now, just before I told her, Rohitwari system actually introduced by Captain James Reed in Karnataka. Later, it became more popular, and Thomas Munro made it as all the South India. Then this Rohitwari system was known as Munro system. Mahalwari system also like that. Introduced by one person, but name went to another persons. Okay, actually it's introduced by, I told you just now that Holt Mackenzie. Just you remember, just you hear it, otherwise simply note down, that's enough. Because I have to go a little faster. Is it possible to take tomorrow class morning session at least 10 to 11 likewise? Just otherwise I'll forget to ask also. 1 or 2 hours morning. I want to go more stress on medieval India, ancient India and all. Okay, if you tell me, I will reply for that. So I have to remember that Holt Mackenzie was the person introduced this Mahalwari system. Mahalwari system has both the features of Rohitwari and permanent settlements. You have to remember this point very clearly. Okay, very, very clearly. So what is the speciality of this one? Actually, I told the person who started Holt Mackenzie in the northwestern province of Bengal, which we call presently it is Uttar Pradesh. Okay, so there it started, but it became more popular during the time of William Bentinck. Don't forget, in 1833. Now, permanent settlements 1793, Rohitwari 1820, Mahalwari system 1833. 1833, William Bentinck was the Governor General of India, the person who abolished sati because of Rajaram Mohan Roy. Rajaram Mohan Roy was known as the father of Indian Renaissance. Renaissance means rebirth. That means from dark to light. He is known as father of Indian Renaissance. We have to remember always. Rajaram Mohan Roy did not abolish sati. Rajaram Mohan Roy advised William Bentinck to abolish sati. So we remember always about William Bentinck and Rajaram Mohan Roy. So the William Bentinck, 1833, introduced Mahalwari system again in North India. That means two systems, permanent settlement as well as Mahalwari system, both introduced in North India. Rohitwari system introduced in South India, remember. But remember who was the actual person introduced this Mahalwari system? He was none other than Holt Mackenzie in small areas in 1822. 1822 he started Mahalwari system. Holt Mackenzie, but it became more popular in the northern part of India, especially Ganga Valley, Punjab region, Angra regions, northwest frontier. Again, I'm telling Uttar Pradesh, central province, this is central India. These are the regions it became more popular. But remember again, I want to say that in 1822, 1820, I told that once Monroe system, otherwise we call it as a Rohitwari system in South India. After 2 years, this Holt Mackenzie introduced this Mahalwari system in the northern India, especially Uttar Pradesh. It became popular Agra regions, central provinces, Punjab regions, and Ganga Valley regions. Remember, this was introduced. That means Mahalwari system introduced in the northern India. Don't forget. It has, I told you, both provision of Zamindari as well as Rohitwari system. You have to remember always. That means, what is the difference? Here, middleman is there, mediator is there. No Zamindar, but middleman is there. Who was the middleman? Village headman. Village headman, he must collect money from the farmers and must give to East India Company, just like a Zamindari system, just like a permanent settlement system. But ownerships to farmers. Settlements, what was there? Zamindar was a middleman, he used to collect money from the farmers and give it to British East India Company. Zamindar was owner of the land. But in Mahalwari system, owner of the land was a middleman, village headman, just like acting like a Zamindar who used to collect the tax from the farmers and giving to East India Company. So this was the practice done about just I want to give a brief out about this Rohitwari, Mahalwari as well as permanent settlements. You have to remember always. So if you question us which system of land revenue system has both the features, then you have to remember Mahalwari system. Which system became more popular in South India? Rohitwari system. Which system more popular in the almost all part of India? You have to remember Mahalwari system because both features are there. Okay, question can ask in twisting way also, in the different way also, then you have to remember all these points there. So this is about land revenue system introduced in a, then question is very important, subsidiary alliance as well as doctrine of lapse. It is very important question. You might be knowing also subsidiary alliance and all, how it started. I think you might have learned about it, about this subsidiary alliance as well as doctrine of lapse. Can anyone tell us who introduced subsidiary alliance there? Subsidiary there?
Wellesley.
Subsidiary alliance. Lord
Wellesley.
very good. So it is very important question that one. Who introduced this doctrine of lapse? Doctrine of lapse was one of the main reasons for 1857 revolt there. We already discussed that one also there. That became more popular during the time of Dalhousie times. You have to remember, I am going to discuss a few minutes about the contribution of Governor Generals also there. Then we'll go for medieval India. So here you have to understand one thing is that Lord Dalhousie was one of the main reasons for a first revolt there. Introduce the doctrine of lapse. Actually, is it this person or not? Doctrine of lapse introduced by Dalhousie or not? Not that one. It already started. It already started in 1820s itself. Before that, only if you look into this one, you can understand that one. Very early, what happened, this doctrine of lapse introduced in a different part of the country. But it became very popular during the time of Dalhousie times. So this is one of the main reasons for 1857 revolt. Question can ask, what was the main reason for the 1857 revolt? You can tell that doctrine of lapse. I think you know the meaning of doctrine of lapse. If a king doesn't have a male heir, no one is accepted to adopt the male heir from anywhere. That means many countries, kingdoms lost their kingships there. Satara lost it, Sambalpur lost it, Udaipur in Rajasthan lost it, Nagpur lost it, Jhansi lost it, Awadh lost it. All these are the victimized peoples because Raja did not have the male son. Son was not there. So they had to adopt another person from another family, but it was not accepted. The kingdom would annex to British India. So this was one of the immediate reason for the 1857 revolt. Other than I told immediate reason, I told Mangal Pandey, I told this is also reason during the time of Dalhousie. But remember, Dalhousie was not there when this 1857 revolt was taken place. That means Lord Canning was there. He left. Lord Canning came there 1857 revolt started in our country there. You have to remember this point very, very clearly. Okay, don't forget. Then I told about subsidiary alliance means British army to be maintained by local king. King has to maintain. He has to pay money. He has to feed them. He has to take care of them. He has to spend all money. Just I'm going little faster. Subsidiary alliance because I asked questions. So what happened? Richard Wellesley times only it started when he was the governor general after John Shore and everything. He became the Wellesley. He was the main reason. Richard Wellesley is known as Bengal Tiger, who killed Tipu Sultan in the last Anglo-Mysore War. Last Anglo-Mysore War, it is very important, you know, in 1799. 1799 was the last Anglo-Mysore War. There were 4 Anglo-Mysore War there, 1767 to 1769. Hyder Ali was there, 1784 to 80 to 84, 4 years. Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan. But 1780 started war. After 2 years, Hyder Ali died. It is because of the cancer and all. So Hyder Ali died because of that. Tipu Sultan continued that war there. So it was 4 years. First one, Anglo-Mysore was 1767 to 1769, 2 years only. Then 1780 to 1784, 4 years there. Third Anglo-Mysore was 1790 to 92, 2 years there. Then the last Anglo-Mysore was 1799, where Tipu Sultan was killed in the Battle of Seringapatam. Here, Richard Wellesley was the person who was killing the Tipu Sultan there. So, Bengal Tiger killed the Mysore Tiger. You have to remember that one. Battle of Seringapatam is very, very important topic there. So, subsidiary alliance also very, very important that you have to understand. That you have to understand very clearly also. Okay, so Richard Wellesley killed Tipu Sultan in the Battle of Seringapatam. The same person introduced the subsidiary alliance in our country there, don't forget. Then question can ask also, which country joined or which kingdom joined first under this scheme there? That means subsidiary alliance. Then you have to remember Nizam, otherwise Hyderabad. Hyderabad was the first state come under subsidiary alliances. Okay, so some of the points are very important, which I am not going to make you confused about this. So subsidiary alliance, doctrine of lapse, Mahalwari system, Rohitwari system, permanent settlements, very important. You know that once, who was the first governor of Bengal, you know very well, Robert Clive, you know very well. So Robert Clive, first he was the person who involved in the Battle of Plassey, but the Battle of Buxar he was not there because he left the place and another person came there. So Battle of Plassey, Robert Clive was there. Battle of Buxar, he was not there because he left India. Okay, again he came back. Second time also Robert Clive came back there. That you have to remember always. Okay, here if I start talking about Robert Clive, you have to understand one thing. 1743 he came to Madras days. Okay, then 1767 he left. 1767. Okay, that means 1764 is the Battle of Buxar. 1764 Battle of Buxar. 1765. That means East India Company was given Diwani right in Bengal there. After 2 years, he left India and he dual the system in Bengal. Dual means two spa. Means Robert Clive, but it was abolished. This dual government introduced by Robert Clive was abolished by first Governor General of India, Warren Hastings. When we start talking about Warren Hastings, we have to remember certain points. One, he gave maximum priority for judicial system in our country. If I start talking about Warren Hastings, okay, don't forget the person who started face the impeachments. Okay, he is only the one person started facing impeachment in the Britain Parliament. Okay, around 7 years the trial gone there. Finally, he was acquitted. He was not found any malpractice. He was not found guilty there. But he was only one Governor General faced the impeachment in Britain Parliament. He is the first Governor General. He codified Hindu and Muslim law there. During his time only, judiciary system became very effective in India there. So whenever we start talking about Warren Hastings, we have to remember 3 points there. First point there, codified Hindu Muslim law there. Then dual government was abolished there, and the person who faced impeachment in the Britain parliaments that continued for 7 years, finally he was acquitted. He was not found any guilty there. Then when we start talking about Cornwallis, we remember only one point you remember at least. What is that? Was permanent settlement there. It is very important point there. Okay, whenever we remember Cornwallis, permanent settlements must come to your picture always. Thereafter, the known as Bengal tiger, I told you, it is very important. During this time only, during Wellesley times only, Madras actually was made as a presidency. Before that, I told you, Bombay was a presidency, Bihar, Bengal was a presidency. He created Madras presidency after annexing Tanjavur and Karnataka. Karnataka means Karnataka region there. So both he mixed, joined, he annexed. Okay, so it happens with the Wellesley only there. Then subsidiary alliance. First I told Bengal tiger, Wellesley I am talking. He created the Madras presidency by annexing Tanjavur and Karnataka. He introduced the subsidiary alliance. Don't forget, Hyderabad was the first state joined in this subsidiary alliance in the year of 1798, exactly 1 year before Battle of Serigapatnam. Battle of Serigapatnam 1799. 1 year before 1798. What happened there? Hyderabad was annexed to British East India Company. It is because of subsidiary alliance there. Then Mysore was there, Tanjore was there, Awadh was there, Jodhpur was there, Jaipur was there, and all many of the northern states like Bundi, Bharatpur, Birar, Peshawar, northeast places. So these, at least you have to remember this point, which are the states joined under subsidiary alliance and doctrine of lapse. So you have to learn it. Okay, so just I'm sharing with you which are the states. Question can ask also, which are the states comes under subsidiary alliance, which are the states comes under doctrine of lapse. At least you have to remember the points there. I told you, Hyderabad, Mysore, Tanjavur, Awadh. Don't forget that one. Awadh is in Uttar Pradesh. Jodhpur, okay, Jaipur, all this north west place in Rajasthan. Mancheri, Bundi, Bharatpur, Birar, Peshawar. I am telling about the place names. All these kingdoms would annex to British India because of subsidiary alliance. So that point you have to remember. Sometimes it may ask that way also there. Okay, so don't forget that point whenever it comes there also. When you ask the doctrine of lapse, you remember Satara is very important. Sambalpur. Whenever we remember Sambalpur, we have to remember always Surendra Sai. We have to remember because Surendra Sai adopted guerrilla warfare there, hiding and attacking. So Surendra Sai belongs to Sambalpur there. Then Udaipur is there, Nagpur is there, Jhansi. The place name at least you have to remember for a subsidiary alliance and a doctrine of lapse. If it is not there, please note down the points and study. Otherwise, you follow the material, whatever you follow there. Don't forget. And Wellesley told you. Second, Sultan was killed in the battle of fourth battle of Seringapatanam. So few points to remember about Lord Wellesley. Bengal tiger, create a Madras presidency, introduce a subsidiary alliance. Then one more is Tipu Sultan was killed in the battle of Seringapatanam. You have to remember properly there. Okay, this is what I want to tell about Lord Wellesley. Don't forget that point. It's very, very important there. Then if you start talking about Lord Hastings, okay, no, not Lord Warren Hastings. Lord Hastings and Lord Warren Hastings both are different. Warren Hastings 1772 to 1785, but Lord Hastings 1813 to 1823, 10 years he was there. What was the speciality under Lord Hastings? Just before I told Rohit Wari system. Rohit Wari system, what is became very prominent under his time only there. Madras presidency. Okay, Thomas Munro, the Madras governor, he introduced the Rohit Wari system. That time he was the Governor General. Don't forget that point is very important. That at least that point you have to remember always. Then Third Anglo-Maratha War also happens during the time of Lord Hastings times. You have to remember that points very, very clearly also there. Okay, so then we have to remember about William Bentinck. Next question, generally asking for UPSC examination, William Bentinck. When we start talking about William Bentinck, 1828 to 1835, only for 7 years he was a person. Whenever you remember, 2 3 points you have to remember. One is the prohibition of sati. That is I told. Second one, just before I told that one, the practice what we introduced, which we call it as Mahalwari system. We discussed also Mahalwari system, prohibition of sati. These are all happens during the time of William Bentinck there. And one more point we have to remember always: English education was given maximum importance under William Bentinck. At least prohibition of sati, then Mahalwani system, English higher education was introduced first times here. And one more social evil practice is stopped there. One is a female infanticides and child sacrifice. Okay, it's very why female infanticide? If they found that child is a girl or female, they started killing the child there. But he stopped it. Okay, so he stopped infanticide, he stopped sati, he encouraged English educations, he gave maximum importance for Mahalwari system when we start talking about Lord William Bentinck. Don't forget. Dalhousie, we remember always, first railway system started from Mumbai to Thane, 1853. It started there. Then doctrine of labs. Don't forget that point is very important. Okay, especially Satara came under first victim. Subsidiary lines I told you, Hyderabad became first victim. But doctrine of labs, Satara became the first victims of this scheme there, you have to remember. Then one more point I want to tell. Already we discussed that one. Sesha Suri started Suri Marg, otherwise DT Road, otherwise Grand Trunk Road, otherwise we call it as NH1 plus NH2. NH1 plus NH2 road, otherwise Grand Trunk Road, otherwise Suri Marg. This road never gave a maximum importance and extensions by the time of Dalhousie there. Already made there, but he made a maximum importance for this GT road during the time of Dalhousie. And postal service also became more popular during the time of Dalhousie. So few points only I am sharing with you, which generally asking for the examination. First railway, doctrine of lapse, telegraph and post became importance. Grand Trunk Road, he gave maximum priority. Okay, Satara was the first state joined, otherwise came under doctrine of lapse schemes. So then you have to remember, subsidiary alliance means Hyderabad. That means this doctrine of lapse means Satara. So you have to learn that way. It is very, very important. And another few points which I want to discuss about this Dalhousie means Simla made as a summer capital there. Jammu Kashmir has two capitals, Kashmir and Srinagar, and okay, that is very important. Srinagar, no, that same similarly, they made India, Delhi and Simla as a capitals. That means the summer times Simla will become capital for India there. So that happens during the time of Dalhousie. That is Dalhousie made. Similarly, I told Jammu Kashmir had two capital. Okay, same way. And this also had India had two capital. Simla was made as a summer capital during the time of Dalhousie. That is one importance. Another very important which I wanted to say also related to social evils there. A remarriage of widows. Because very important question this one. Widows were not allowed to marry again. But during Dalhousie times only this. So when we have to talk about William Bentinck and Dalhousie, we remember these 2 points. One, William Bentinck means sati was abolished there, infanticide was abolished there. During Dalhousie times, what happened there? Widows, the Remarriage Act was passed in the year of 1856 and he left. 1856 he left. 1857, you remember that Lord Canning became the next Governor General of India there. So what was the good things we have done it? Remarriage of widow. Why? It is because of Chandra Vidyasagar efforts. Ishwara Chandra Vidyasagar, you might have heard also. Sati was abolished by William Bentinck. It is because of Rajaram Mohan Roy. But widow remarriage was legalized. It is because of Ishwara Chandra Vidyasagar. These two questions are very important, my dear children. What is it? Because of Rajaram Mohan Roy, William Bentinck abolished Sati. In 1829, don't forget that point. 1829, Sati was abolished. That time William Bentinck was the Governor General. But who played behind that one is Rajaram Mohan Roy. Don't forget. widow remarriage was legalized, it is because of the Widow Remarriage Act in the year of 1856. It is because of Ishwara Chandra Vidyasagar. So here you have to remember about the two personalities. One is Ishwara Chandra Vidyasagar. Another you have to remember about Raja Mohan Roy. Ishwara Chandra Vidyasagar behind remarriage for widows, and Raja Mohan Roy behind abolition of the Sati Dev. But we have to remember these two personalities along with the Governor Generals. It is very important. So many things happened during the time of William Dalhousie times. Don't forget. First one is there. First railway started. I told you that one. Then telegraph and postal. Then doctrine of lapse. I told you. Grand Trunk was given importance there. Simla was made a capital there. Remarriage Widow Act was passed because of Ishwara Chandra Vidyasagar. You have to remember. Next, Lord Canning, I told you, last Governor General and the first Viceroy in India there. During his time only, the revolt 1857, otherwise first war of independence taken place. Lord Canning, don't forget this ones. This time, one point I want to discuss with you. During Lord Canning times only, he withdrew the doctrine of lapse. That means it is one of the very important point. That means withdrawing doctrine of lapse. Doctrine of lapse was one of the main reason for 1857 revolt. But next person who gave more importance, Dalhousie did not start this doctrine of lapse. He made it more popularity. It's already started 1820s. But 1848, Satara joined, or Satara was forced to join under this scheme, under this doctrine of lapse. It is because of Dalhousie, you have to remember. Dalhousie times it became more popular. I am talking about a doctrine of lapse. But the next Governor General, Lord Canning times, this doctrine of lapse was withdrawn. That means stopped, suspended, cancelled. That. One more thing when we have to talk about this Lord Canning, we have to remember, there are three universities introduced first times in India. It is because of 1857, what is the Indian Council Act there, 1858 Indian Council Act. Three main university happened first time. Don't forget that is very important. Calcutta, Bombay, Madras. Why it is very easy to remember, these were three presidencies. Calcutta means Bengal presidency, Bombay presidency, Madras presidency. So three major universities were established during the time of Lord Canning. Warren Hastings, I told you, judiciary system became more popular. Okay, first times court was set up, Supreme Court was set up. This all happened during the time of Warren Hastings. But Lord Canning times, what happened there? Universities were introduced in Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras. Just before I told, English education became more popular, especially at higher secondary level during the time of William Bentinck. So I told judicial system, Warren Hastings, English education, William Bentinck. Three major universities in the country established during the time of Lord Canning. Lord Canning times is very important and a crucial period there. Why? Because first national movement, first mass movement, okay, happens during the time of Lord Canning. That you have to remember always. Okay, it is very important. Then this I told about the Supreme Court and everything, local courts and everything I told you. There were two types of courts and everything became more popular during the time of Warren Hastings. But when we start talking about Lord Lawrence, when we start talking about that, after Lord Canning, what was the importance of this one? I told universities were introduced Calcutta, Bombay, Madras. That is Bengal, Bombay, Madras. Same these three places, high courts were started by Lord Lawrence. Lawrence. So Lawrence and Canning, what is the similarity here? One person introduced started high court. Presently we have 21 high courts. So who started this one first? Remember that one, Lord Lawrence started in our country. Don't forget, that's very important. And he created Indian Forestry Department also. When I am talking about Lawrence. So three universities at Calcutta, Bombay, Madras by Lord Canning. Three high courts at Calcutta, Bombay, Madras by Lawrence. These points you have to understand very clearly. Then, first time census was taken. It is a very important question. I saw these questions in a UPSC paper. First time census, that means, we will taking the account of the peoples. Okay. First in 1871, 1871, first time census was taken in our country. It happens during the time of Lord Mayo. I am so many governor generals are there. I am giving only selective. Please, you can write down it little fast also there. Okay, because I am taking class in mobile there, so I am unable to access other points and everything. So I have to these points only few governor generals, countables, hardly maybe 10 to 15 governor generals only I am sharing. I am not telling. That also most important contributions what they have done for Indian subcontinents. So first time census was taken, I told you, Mayo, Lord Mayo, M-A-Y-O. Don't forget that. Then survey was done. Census was taken. We studied in class 8 also. Britishers, they start focusing on survey, census was taken and all. Second chapter of history is studied. Same, but who was the Governor General? You have to remember Mayo there. He was the only one Governor General. Okay, why we call him Viceroy? Because after 1858, all the Governor Generals were assumed as otherwise called as Viceroy. He was only one Viceroy murdered. Okay, murdered in India there. Where it is? Andaman and Nicobar. When he was first only one viceroy in India. So many viceroys are there in that ones. Only one viceroy murdered by Indian. Okay, that happens in 1872. That is Lord Mayo. Only one person faced the impeachment just before I told you, Warren Hastings. 7 years he faced impeachments. Warren Hastings, finally he was found acquitted, though he faced the impeachment in Britain Parliament because of his corrupted activities in India there. One Governor General was killed in India. That was Mayo, the person who introduced the survey and census in our country there. Okay, only few points I will discuss with you. Okay, remember all these points. Okay, very, very important. Then, when I start talking about very important points which we have to discuss, Vernacular Act. It is many times this question also there. Vernacular Act means a local language can be used there. Local language can be used for the. There is a prohibition of vernacular. What is an act and everything. Vernacular is local. Vernacular Press Act. That means public are not given that much freedom for press and everything. So that is one of the famous point which we have to discuss also. Another major event happens during the time of Lord Lytton. Lord Lytton. Now we are discussing about Lord Lytton. Grant Delhi Darbar in the year of 1877 to decorate the Queen Victoria with the title of Kaiser-i-Hind. I told you Kaiser-i-Hind just a few days before. I told you Kaiser-i-Hind was the title given to Mahatma Gandhi ji. It is because of his role in the Boer War in South Africa. But in that he got that award in 1915 only. But he surrendered that award. It is because of Jallianwala Bagh massacre. I told you Kaiser-i-Hind. Kaiser-i-Hind actually is a honor. It is an award given to a personality. So Indian, the father of the India, Mahatma Gandhi also was awarded Kaiser-i-Hind, but he surrendered. He returned that award. It is because of Jallianwala Bagh massacre in the year of 1919. He got this award in 1915. It is because of his involvement in the ambulance service during the time of Boer War in South Africa. Don't forget. Here, during the time of same way, here Victoria, Queen Victoria was titled as a Kaiser-i-Hind. So there was a grand function in Delhi. That is known as Delhi Darbar. That was happens in 1877. Only one question paper only I saw this point. So I thought of sharing that one with you. Grand Delhi Darbar. Why it happens? Why this Grand Delhi Darbar in Delhi in 1877? If the question asked, you can write that one in order to decorate what is a Queen Victoria with the title Kaiser-i-Hind there. Okay, then you have to remember Mahatma Gandhi got the same title. That means they wanted to have the grand functions. Why? Because their king got an award there. This happens during the time of Lord Lytton, 1877. This is one of the question paper only I saw this one, so I thought of sharing with you. And the first time Vernacular Press Act was passed during Lytton times. Okay, so I am not going much about this one. Next person is very important, father of local self-government, 1882. Okay, father of local self-governments. Then I told you father of Panchayat Raj, Balwant Rai. I told you, he was a father of a Panchayat Raj, I told you. Panchayat Raj system first introduced in our country in 1957 during the time of Jawaharlal Nehru times. It is because of the recommendation made by Balwant Rai. Balwant Rai, don't forget. Balwant Rai was the second chief minister of Gujarat there. Okay, so father of Panchayat Raj, Balwant Rai, and father of local self-government was Lord Ripon, don't forget. Okay, so what happened there? He passed on Act there, Local Self-Government Act there, 1882. So 1882 is very, very important for us because local self-government that became more popular in India after 1992. Okay, 1992, what happened? Panchayat Raj Act was passed in Indian parliaments and given complete right to state governments. If the population is more than 20 lakhs in a state, they can introduce Panchayat Raj system. It is not compulsory, it is not a mandatory, it is up to the state to decide whether they need to have a Panchayat or not at local level. That is why Northeast states doesn't have a Panchayat Raj. They did not implement Panchayat Raj. One of the main reason population. Okay, the state where the population is more than 20 lakhs, they start introducing Panchayat Raj and it functions very properly in South India. Okay, very important point. You have to remember always. In South India, Andhra Pradesh was the first state to introduce this Panchayat Raj. In India, first time it's introduced in Rajasthan. Don't forget these points. Panchayat Raj Act was passed in 1992. Why I tell all these points there? Sometimes it may ask there. So Lord Ripon, you have to remember, father of a local self-government. 1882 means why 1882? Because 1882 only this act was passed there. So don't forget the census and survey, Mayo, don't forget. First viceroy murdered, I told you, Mayo. Okay, then local self-governments, Lord Ripon, don't forget. It is a very, very important. And another point is very important, my dear. William Hunter Commission recommendations also happens during the time of Lord Ripon. You will ask, what is actually William Hunter Commission? You have to remember simple recommendations to improve the primary and secondary educations. Primary education. I told you William Bendick, he wanted to introduce English education as a medium for higher educations. Here, Lord Ripon, he has taken or he had taken many steps for improving primary and secondary educations. It is because of the recommendation of William Hunter Commission. So whenever you start to remember 3 points, you have to 3-4 points you have to remember about Lord Ripon. One, Panchayat system, local self-government. Second one, Hunter Commissions. William Hunter Commissions or Hunter Commissions. Don't forget, it is very, very important things you have to remember. Okay, and this Lord Ripon, actually speaking, he was so much sympathized personality towards India or Indians. Okay, he was nice person. Okay, that means he had a pity, otherwise he had a sympathy on Indians there. You have to remember that is also. And one more very important point which I have to tell you, he is the first person started taking a step for prohibiting child labor. You see, Child Labor Act was passed in our country. Okay, if you start learning about article number 23 and 24, when you start talking about it, is very important. Article number 24 speaks about prohibition of child labor. Child means till 14 years. All the child are prohibited to do the job there. But here credit goes to Lord Ripon. That means Lord Ripon actually the person starters child labor abolition. Now, Sati abolished William Bentinck. Very important points. Widow remarriage, again I repeat, Sati was abolished by William Bentinck. Infanticide, female infanticide was abolished by William Bentinck. Widow remarriage started and legalized by, I told you, Dalhousie. Now, child labor was abolished by Lord Ripon. So don't forget William Bentinck, Dalhousie and Lord Ripon. I told you, Ripon was so much sympathy on Indians who introduced the local self-government. So we call him as a father of local self-governments. Okay, so one viceroy was impeached, another viceroy was killed in India. Impeached person, I told you, Warren Hastings. killed a person ആയിട്ട് murdered. That means in Andaman only. Andaman is a part of India. That happens in 1872. He was murdered. That was Lord Mayo. Don't forget. Now, the person who started taking the step for prohibiting child labor, he was Lord Ripon. The same person had taken many steps for improving primary and education, secondary education. It is because of the recommendation of Hunter Commission. You have to remember that points very, very clearly. Okay, don't forget that points. Then, picture I want to tell one more point, sir. He wanted to have one more bill there, but that was actually, he faced a lot of criticism. Liberty Bill. Ripon, I'm talking about the Ripon only. Liberty Bill. What happened there? He wanted to appoint Indian district magistrate to for trial to European criminals. See how he has done it. He appointed Indian judges to take the judgment of European peoples. So this faced a lot of criticism by his own peoples. So it was later withdrawn also, this Liberty Bill. If question asks what is actually Liberty Bill 1883, you remember this one. It is the bill passed during the time of Lord Ripon in order to appoint, otherwise in order to enable Indian district magistrate to trial European criminals. Simple language, you have to understand these points. So it will be easy for you to capture. So I told one first point, Local Self-Government Act was passed, Factory Act was passed. Factory Act means just before I told, prohibition of child labor. Factory Act 1881, Local Self-Government Act 1882. Okay, don't forget, it is very important. Liberty Bill 1883, continuous 3 years. 1881, 1882, 1883. 1881, I told you, Factory Act, prohibiting child labor. 1882, Local Self-Government Act. 1883, Liberty Bill. Okay, local self-government means I understood villages need a government. Then Factory Act means prohibition of child labor. Liberty means enabling Indian district magistrate to trial and give punishment to European people. That means Indian had given right. Indians were given complete power to punish British peoples. So definitely he would have faced so many criticism from his own people. So later this bill was withdrawn. So liberty means don't write they wanted to get freedom, not like that. Indian magistrate was given right to take action on British peoples. That is very important point. You don't forget that point, is very, very important. Another which I want to tell about Lord during the line, it is a border line between India and Afghanistan. This line actually fixes this Durand line. Durand is the border of India and Afghanistan. I think your geography teacher might have told about the border of India, Pakistan, border of India, Nepal, border of India, Burma, border of India, Afghanistan. You might have told also the name of that border. That is very important point there. That is very important question. You have to study that one. Here, Durand line is a border line between Afghanistan and India. During Lansdowne's time only, this happens. That means fixation of Durand line by appointing Durand Commission. Durand means a person name. The person, that is the president of the commission name was Durand. You may have asked what is a Durand? The person name, like Cyber Commissions, Cripps Missions. Okay, likewise, it is a person name, Durand Commission. To define the borderline between India and Pakistan. Sorry, India and Afghanistan. That you have to remember always. That point about Lansdowne, which is generally asked there. Then great famine happens in our country, Bengal, Bihar region and everything. Too much famines. People could not get the food properly. Great shortage of food there. That all happens during the time of, especially, this question is not much importance, but at least you collect that great famine. Okay, you studied the points in the 8th class textbook. Great famines occurred in Bengal, Bihar region and all those points. It is very important. This happens during the time of Elgin II. This word is not that much familiar to, but you have to understand very clearly all. Lord Curzon, we remember partition of Bengal. Bengal was divided into two parts there. Already we discussed the East Bengal and West Bengal. This happened during the time of Lord Curzon. You have to remember this point is very important because this question is very important. Partition of Bengal. Later, it happens in 1905, but in 1911 again rejoined there. That point is very important. Then Lord Harding, what was happened this time? 1911, just before I told, Bengal was the partition of Bengal was cancelled there. Then both united together, and the capital from Calcutta to Delhi shifted also there. This all happened during the time of Lord Harding's times also. It is very important. And this time only the bomb was thrown at him, but he escaped unhurt also there. Okay, and during this time, only Gandhiji came from South Africa. Okay, Annie Besant announced the home rule movements and all happened during this time only. Then Chelmsford, one day Chelmsford you might be knowing also. Rowlatt Act was there, Jallianwala Bagh massacre, non-cooperation movement. Okay, Women University started first in Pune. Okay, all this happens during August declarations. This all happens during the time of Lord Chelmsford there. Lord Reading times, again, Rowlatt Act was repealed. Prince Wales visited India. I told you, when he visited India, Lahore, the whole seat was empty because of the non-cooperation movement. I am talking about Lord Reading. Then Mappilla rebellion in Kerala. That is things happens. Then formation of Swaraj Party, Communist Party was formed there. This all happens during the time of Lord Reading. Lord Irwin, Gandhi Irwin mission is there. Civil disobedience movement is there. Round table conference happens there. Salt Satyagraha happened there. These are all during the time of Lord Irwin. It's very important. Then after him, Lord Wellington is coming there. Round table conference is there. Gandhiji again reintroduced the civil disobedience movements during his times. Third round table conference was there. Pune Pact was signed there. All these times only there. And Lord Lincoln, it is very important. So many things happens during his times also, because Second World War. That time he was the Governor General or Viceroy in India. Churchill became Prime Minister that times in the 1940. Okay, then Atlantic Charters issued. That means what is Atlantic Charter means? It is issued jointly by UK and USA, stating to give sovereign right to all those who have been forcefully deprived of them. That means except India. That means except India, all the states, all the countries, whoever were not given any kind of the freedoms and kept under forcefully will be made free, but not India. That is what we call it as a Atlantic Charter. Don't forget, Atlantic Charter is very important in 1940 by Winston Churchill. Whereas India was not made any exemption of this one. All other places were made deprived out of this force. The Cripps Mission arrival. Okay, these are Quit India movements and all happening during the time of Lithgow only there. Then Lord Wavell is coming there after him. Then last person is a Lord Mountbatten there. Lord Wavell times only Simla Conference. Otherwise, Wavell Plan is there. Then election to the Constituent Assembly there. Okay, these are all happening during the time of election to interim government there. This all happened during the time of Wavell, last Viceroy of British India, and the first Governor General of Free India, Lord Mountbatten. And he only made all the proposal for this June 3rd plan. Because of this one only, he left after giving freedom to us. Okay, this is about a contribution of this Governor Generals in the brief points which I discussed with you also there. Now, when I start talking about the other few points which I want to share with you, then let us go back to the medieval history. At least few points we can discuss today. Shall I take till 5:30, or you have any other commitments? Hello? Do you have any exam today?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, sir.
You have exam today?
Yes, sir.
So I have to stop. So all up to you only, because I don't know what's going on there. I don't know. Only, shall I take another? Tell me. Waiting. Shall I continue till 5:30? Or shall I wind up? Shall I wind up?
Continue, sir.
Okay,
Continue.
fine. Very good. Excellent. Medieval period. Remember always. Okay, I want to speak much about this one, but because of the point, that's what I told you. Tomorrow, if you are ready, I am ready to take class also, because this discussion may helpful to you. Those who are listening very seriously, this question, when you see the question paper, you will understand. So these are all we discussed there. Okay, then you will understand. Here I'm going to talk about a few minutes, about at least 30 minutes I will take, and I'll discuss about the medieval period there. You remember always medieval period means 8th century to 18th century. Okay, don't forget this point always. That means whenever I talk about this, 8th century means you know very well. When onwards 8th century starts? 700s. 700 to 1700s. So that was a time period we call it as a medieval period. After 18th century, we call it as a modern periods. Okay, before 8th century, it is an ancient period. So Indian history can be classified into 3 periods there: ancient period, medieval period, modern period. Today, I want to discuss only about 8th century to 18th century. Don't forget, that point is very important. When I start talking about this medieval period, remember only few points. One is the Delhi Sultanate, which I think already we discussed about the Delhi Sultanate. Then few regional kingdoms, Mughal Sultanate, then Marathas. These are mainly how to understand. So here I am going to discuss about a few regional kingdoms we have to discuss. I think Mughal we already discussed. The previous class we discussed. I think so. Mughal dynasty we discussed, previously. Akbar and all.
Yes, sir.
Aurangzeb. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
If you are not getting that point, this question will come. Definitely one question will be there Mughal, one question will be there Delhi Sultanate. You have to grant it like that. If you are confused with the Delhi Sultanate or Mughal dynasty, tell me. I will take that points first, then I'll go to this regional kingdoms. Okay, it is all up to you only, because that is very important topic, Delhi Sultanate and Mughal dynasty. Don't forget. Okay, see so many interesting things we can learn from this one. Delhi Sultan, founder Qutbuddin Aibak, 4 years ruled. 4 years only ruled there. Founder of Mughal dynasty, Babur, ruled only 4 years. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Similarly, Razia Sultana, the first women ruler, she ruled only 4 years. Okay. When we start talking about this one, Humayun fell down from a library hall. The person we remember about Qutbuddin Aibak fell down from the horse there and died while he was playing polo. So some kind of similarities we can remember always. If you are comfortable with the Delhi Sultanate and the Mughal dynasty, I am not going to touch with that one. So I will go for another regional kingdoms today there. Let me talk something. Early medieval period, I already told, we can remember about it. Early medieval period, Delhi Sultanate, regional kingdoms, Mughal Sultanate and Marathas. This we call it as medieval India. Don't forget, that point is very, very clear to you. Here, I want to talk about Rajaputs. You may always have doubts. Sorry. Rajaputs means there are so many different groups. Don't think that one it is only one dynasty. Around 36 Rajaputs groups prevailed in our country there. 36 different groups. Okay, 36. It is not one there. Chahamanas or Chauhans is one group, where Prithviraj Chauhan was the third, was the main ruler who was defeated by Muhammad of Ghori there. That is a one Rajaput group. Likewise, 36 different Rajaputs groups are there in our country also there. Okay, that is in North India. East India, we will look in that ones, Pala dynasty and Sena dynasty. Pala dynasty, around 350 years they ruled there India. I am giving brief note now. Sena dynasty also East India only, eastern part of India, 100 years they ruled India. So I am not talking about the 8th century to 18th century medieval India, where North India, Northwest India had 36 Rajaputs groups. Eastern part of India, Pala dynasty and Sena dynasty. When we start talking about Pala dynasty, we remember always Rajendra Chola. Rajendra Chola was also known as Gengaikonda Chola. Gengaikonda means the person who got the victory on Ganga region, which was under the control of Pala king. Okay, that's why Rajendra Chola constructed a new city there, which was known as Gengaikonda Cholapuram. So when we start talking about Gengaikonda Cholapuram, we have to remember Fatehpur Sikri, which was constructed by Akbar. These are all cities. Okay, you have to remember this point very clearly. So here I told about the Pala dynasty. Here I discussed about the Sena dynasty, both in the eastern part of India. Now, Deccan region, you see this medieval time, two main dynasties. Rashtrakuta dynasty, you studied in class 7th. Dendi Durga was the founder of Rashtrakuta dynasty. Around 220 years they ruled India there. Okay. Another one is there, Kalyani Chalukyas. Chalukyas were 4 groups. Chalukyas of Benki, that's Eastern Chalukyas, Andhra Pradesh. Chalukyas of Kalyani means Western Chalukyas. Then Karnataka, we call it as a Chalukyas of Bedami or Bedami or Vatapi. Okay, that is a point. Then Chalukyas of Solanki. So 4 different types of Chalukyas were there. But remember one thing, this is a medieval period, Chalukyas of Kalyani, 220 years. Rashtrakutas 220 years, Chalukyas of Kalyani 22 years. Sorry, 220 years. Okay, I am told about the 36 Rajaputs, Pala dynasty, Sena dynasty, Western Chalukyas, that is a Kalyani. Western Chalukyas is also known as Chalukyas of Kalyani. Then Rashtrakutas, you have to remember always. Then South India, Chola dynasty. These are the dynasties became more popular. Regional dynasties prevailed in between 8th century to 18th century. That means medieval periods. Okay, Chola dynasty, Chalukyas of Kalyani, or we call it as a Western Chalukyas. Then Rashtrakutas, then Pala dynasty, Sena dynasty. This became very popular. You have to remember always. Now, here I share only very important 6 dynasties under Rajaput's dynasty. I told you 36 different dynasties comes under Rajaputs or Rajaputs. Raja, Raja, both are synonyms for king. Okay, Rajan means king. Raja means king. So you can pronounce in any way, Rajaputs or Rajaputs. Both are important. Here I want to tell about the 6 Rajaputs kingdoms. One is there, Gurjara Pratihara. You might have heard also there. Gurjara Pratihara there. Why it is known as the Gurjara Pratihara there? Because their group was known as Pratihara. They ruled Gurjara region there. So that is why they are known as Gurjara Pratihara. Especially north, west and central part of India, they became very popular. Their capital was, you should understand very clearly there, Solanki and all. Gujarat we discussed also. Chalukyas of Solanki, Chalukyas of Kalyani. Solanki is a place name. Chalukyas of Benki, Chalukyas of Bedami. So similarly, Gurjara Pratihara capital, Solanki, don't forget. Chandela was there. When we start talking about Chandela, we always remember about the Khajuraho temple, one of the most famous temples built in our country there. This became more popular during the time of Chandelas there. And Chauhan's region it was there, that you have to remember always. When we start talking about this Gurjara Pratihara, Chandelas is very important. Okay. Then Paramara or Pawar dynasties. Pawar, another group is there. Paramara dynasties. That also in north central part of India, it was very popular there also. So Gurjara Pratihara, Chandelas is very important. Paramaras is very important. Okay, that is almost very popular during the time of this medieval period and everything. That got more popularity also there. Then I told you Chalukyas of Solanki, that's very important dynasties. Then we start, whenever we start talking about other one is there, Chauhan dynasty and Gehandawala dynasty. So these are the dynasty we are going to discuss today there. Okay. So first one, when I start talking about Gurjara Pratihara dynasty, Gurjara Pratihara dynasty. This capital was Kanauj was a capital. Gurja Pratihara. I think you studied in class 7th. Three-party struggles. Three-party struggles. Palas, Rashtrakudas, Gurjara Pratihara. They had a fight for Kanauj there. So Kanauj was a capital for Gurjara Pratihara. You have to remember. Okay, the most important king there, Mahendra Pala. Most important.
Sir.
Yeah, somebody asking.
Gurjara Pratihara.
Tell me.
You said Solanki is capital of Gurjara Pratihara.
I'm going to tell about that one only. The beginning, Solanki was the capitals. Later, it is shifted to Kanauj there, also there. Okay, very good question you asked there. Okay, so like we discussed also, like first Urayur was the capital of Cholas in the beginning. Later shifted to what happened there, Tanjavur. Then they made it to Gengekonda Cholapuram. Similarly, excellent question. Solanki then made it as Kanauj there, don't forget. Why I want to tell about Gurjara Pratihara times? These times, what actually happens there, Muhammad Ghazni invaded India there. You might be knowing also around 28 years of Muhammad Ghazni times, he invaded India 17 times, including Gujarat temple, Somanath temple. Somanath temple only remains there now. There is no Somanath temple now. Okay, because that was all crushed there. So Muhammad of Ghazni came to India. Okay, Gurjara Pratihara times also. Second one, Muhammad of Gori also came to India. Okay, these are all happens. Muhammad of Ghazni had no intention of expanding his kingdoms. He wanted monetary benefit. He wanted money. That purpose only he came to India. Whereas Muhammad of Gori came not for money. He wanted to, he wanted to have expansions. Muhammad of Ghazni was not defeated by any Raja. 17 times he invaded India. I am talking about Muhammad of Ghazni. That in Gurjara Pratihara was one of the regional kingdom. 17 times Muhammad of Ghazni invaded India. Okay, but no Raja defeated him. But Muhammad of Gori came to India. He was defeated many times by Raja also there, including Prithviraj Chauhan III there. Muhammad of Ghazni, no intention of expanding his territory, but only monetary benefits. Muhammad of Gori, he wanted to have the expansion of his territory. So that is the difference between Muhammad of Gori and Muhammad of Ghazni. But if the question asked, who was the first Muslim invader of India? Who invaded India first? Not Muhammad of Ghazni, not Muhammad of Gori, Muhammad Bakshim, don't forget that, or Bin Qasim, we can call it another way also. 712 AD, he was the first Muslim man invaded India there. Muhammad bin Qasim, don't forget. Muhammad bin Qasim, first person. Second person, Muhammad Ghazni. Third person, Muhammad Gori. Okay, these are all happens during that Gurjara Pratihara times. That means Gurjara Pratihara, they ruled around 750 years. Okay, India there. And two important Raja means Mahendra Pala, and he himself was a great poet also there and wrote many books also. Then Rajyapala was another ruler. You remember at least Gurjara Pratihara's capital, you have to remember. Second one, who all came to these places, you have to remember. Muhammad Gori, Muhammad Ghazni and all, they came to India. You have to remember about Gurjara Pratihara. Gurjara Pratihara, why this name has come there? It is because Pratihara, I told you their name. Gurjara means the area ruled by them. So that's why it's known as Gurjara Pratihara. Don't forget. So because I had only short and brief information only. If I go, means only we can talk about Gurjara Pratihara more. Now Chandela. Chandela is very important because they who became the very popular kingdoms in the Bundelkhand. Bundelkhand means central part of India. There's two capital they had. Mahodha was a capital. Khajuraho was capital. Just before I told, Chandela times only Khajuraho temple was constructed there. Very important point that was. Khajuraho was a capital city of Chandelas. Okay, first their capital, Mahoba was their first capital, shifted to Khajuraho. Okay, don't forget that is though they had two capitals. They had two capitals. Cholas also had three capitals. Urayur was a capital, Tanjavur was a capital, then Gangaikonda Cholapuram was a capital. Likewise, here Chandelas, and same with this also. Delhi Sultanate also. They had many capital. Lahore was a capital. Delhi was a capital. Agra made as a capital. Daulatabad was made as a capital. Similarly, Chandelas had two capital. Mahoba. Last their capital is Khajuraho. So whenever Khajuraho temple, who made it, a question comes, you remember always Chandelas, you have to remember. Okay, especially the Khajuraho temple is not a one temple. It is around 85 temples are there. All collectively called it as Khajuraho temples. And one temple is constructed by one kingdoms, one dynasties. So we cannot tell that one who is actually the founder of Khajuraho temple. But mainly, okay, around many of the temples are constructed by this Chandelas groups mainly. So we remember about the Chandelas. But remember, Khajuraho is the group of temples which around consist of 85 temples. Presently only 25 temples surviving now. Remaining all temples were damaged or crushed and spoiled there. You have to remember always about the Chandela. So whenever talk about Chandela, remember there are more Bundelkhand. In those we call Bundelkhand. That is known as the present. Okay, capital Khajuraho. Khajuraho temple, Chandelas. Don't forget that point is very important. And one more we have to remember about this one. First times Hindi inscriptions. Ashoka inscription is studied there. Ashoka inscriptions. Maurya dynasty times. Likewise, Hindi inscriptions first times used by this Chandelas only there. Okay, it is very important. Because during this Chandela times, they made so many sculptures. So many sculptures they made there. More than 600 plus sculptures were made there. Okay, so many temples they constructed in different parts of northern India there during the time of Chandelas. So whenever we remember about Cholas, we remember South India, number of temples were constructed. Similarly, Chandelas also made so many temples in northern part of India. Main temple Khajuraho. The word Khajuraho means, remember always, Chandelas. Okay, one of the Rajputs groups. Gurjara Pradihara I told, Kanauj was Solanki, then Kanauj was the capital. Chandela's capital Mahoba, then Khajuraho became capital. During Gurjara Pradihara times, Muhammad bin Qasim's, Muhammad Ghazni, Muhammad Ghori, all they invaded India. Muhammad of Ghazni came for not for expansions, only for monetary benefit. Muhammad of Ghori came for expansion of the territory, not for monetary benefit. You have to remember. Then we have to remember about the Paramara dynasty. Paramara dynasty. This whole dynasty became the 7th class textbook. It is there. Paramara dynasty. This actually in Malwa region there. So I told Gurjara Pradihara in the north, west and central parts. Chandela, it is in Bundelkhand regions. Paramara dynasty in Malwa region. Their capital was Dhar. Dhar was the capital. Dhar. Dhar was the capital. Okay. And the most famous ruler of Paramara dynasty was Bhoja. Bhoja was the most famous ruler of Paramara dynasty. He was the greatest scholar. This is a very important question asked in UPSC. Which Raja was titled as Kavi Raja? That is king of poets. King of poet. Don't forget, it is very important points. You have to remember Kavi Raja means Bhoja. Bhoja of Paramara dynasty. Don't forget. Here Chandela I told what Khajuraho temples. Paramaras means remember one thing. What remember? You have to write about, think about Kaviraja, king of poets. Okay, don't forget. Okay, so this point is very important. This question is asked in UPSC examinations. Which Raja was a title as a Kaviraja? Then remember Bhoja of Paramara dynasty. Otherwise, we call him as what is there? Paramara Bhoja. Paramara Bhoja, otherwise Bhoja of Paramara, both are same. He was one of the famous ruler. They ruled Malwa regions. Okay, capital was Dhar. Don't forget that point is Very important. Okay. He himself has written around 20 books. Okay, that is why it is known as Kaviraja. So, Bhoja, my dear children, don't forget. It is very, very, very important point, my dear children. Don't forget. Okay, it is very important point. He only constructed a new city, Bhojpur. Very important. Bhojpur. Bhojraja constructed Bhojpur. Just before we discussed also. Siri constructed by Alauddin Khilji. You studied it. Agra constructed by Sikandar Lodi. We discussed also there. Okay. Gangekonda Cholapuram city constructed by let me see whether you are listening or not. Which city? Huh? Anyone?
Fatehpur Sikri.
Fatehpur Sikri. Which person? Akbar. Bhojpur city constructed by Bhoj Raja. My dear children, note down these points. Bhoj Raja, Bhoj of Bhoj Paramara, known as Kaviraja. More than 24 books he has written there. He built a new city known as Bhojpur. Don't forget, this is a asked questions in the UPSC examination. Okay, very important points. Khajuraho temple, remember Chandela. Muhammad Ghori, Muhammad Ghazni, and Muhammad bin Qasim, Gurjara Pratihara times. Then I told you now is the very famous personalities, Paramaras, Bhoja, known as Kaviraja. He made lot of writings, so he was known as Kaviraja. He built a new city, Bhojpur. Okay, it's very important. Another one is Solanki. Why I want to tell about Solanki? This question also were asked in history part. This one asked there. Mount Abu Temple. Okay, Mount Abu Temple. You might be knowing also. Mount Abu Temple is it is locating in the Mount Abu Hill in Rajasthan border and all these things. Mount Abu. It is mainly Jainist temple. This temple actually constructed during the time of Solanki. Solanki means Gujarat Solankis. Solanki, don't forget, it is a one group name also, place name also there. Solanki ruled Gujarat more than 300 years. Okay, their capital was Annihilwara. That was the capitals. Okay, very important points. Here, what I want to tell you from the Solanki, Mount Abu Temple. Khajuraho Temple means you have to remember about Chandelas. Mount Abu means you have to remember Solanki peoples. Mount Abu actually the temple belongs to Jainist temples. Don't forget. Okay, the most important Raja, Bhima first. Okay, it's very important. Bhima first times only Muhammad of Ghazni invaded Somanatha temples. That happens in a I think it was almost last invasion of Muhammad of Ghazni in the year of 1025. Bhima first, one of the famous ruler of Solanki, that you have to always remember about that personalities. I'm talking about Bhima. Don't forget about Bhima and Jaisimha. There are three rulers are very popular there. What I want to tell here, Mount Abu temples whose kingdoms belongs to it. Then you have to Solanki. You have to remember always. Okay, that is a point which I want to discuss from that place also. Then Bhima second was there. Muhammad Ghori invaded there. The war took place at Mount Abu there. Ghori was defeated by Bhima second also. Bhima second was one of the most famous ruler. I told you, Muhammad of Ghazni was not defeated by any Indian Raja. 17 times he invaded India. 17 times he attacked India, Muhammad of Ghazni. No Indian Raja defeated him. Whereas Muhammad Ghori was defeated by many Rajas. Prithviraj Chauhan third, I told you. Bhima second of Solanki dynasty. There all happens there. So whenever you remember about Solanki dynasty, Solanki, you have to remember Mount Abu mainly. Muhammad Ghori's invasions. Muhammad Ghori was defeated by the most famous ruler of Solanki, Bhima II. Chauhan dynasty, that is we already discussed, we discussed also there, one of the Rajputs community where Prithviraj Chauhan III, the most powerful and the last ruler. Capital was, Ajmer was the capital of Chauhans or Chahamanas, don't forget. And Prithviraj Raso, okay, the first book written in Hindi literature by Chand Bardai. Don't forget that point is very important. Chand Bardai, a great scholar in the court of Prithviraj Chauhan, wrote a book about Prithviraj Chauhan known as Prithviraj Rasu. This was the first book in Hindi literature. Just before I told one point there. What point I told you? Chandelas were the first people, they started using Hindi inscription first times. Hindi inscriptions. Now I am telling, now I told a point there. It's a very important point which I discussing now. It is what I was discussing there. First book in Hindi literature, that was Prithviraj Raso, written by Chand Bardai. That is very important. And Prithviraj Chauhan faced two battles with Muhammad of Ghori. I told you first battle of Tarain, second battle of Tarain. Already we discussed that point there. The first one, Ghori was defeated. Second one, Prithviraj Chauhan was defeated. It is very important. Okay, after defeating this man only, he appointed Governor Qutbuddin Aibak, okay, as the governor of Delhi. That was the beginning of the Muslim rule in our country. Then Gehandawala dynasty. Okay, Gehandawala dynasty, their famous ruler Jayachandra, their capital was Kanauj was the capital. It is very important point. And where the battle was fought between Muhammad of Ghori and Jayachandra. In this battle, Jayachandra was killed also. Then Muhammad of Ghori killed Jayachandra. Okay, what point you have to understand? Here it is about this people. I am talking about Gehandawalas. You have to remember only one thing, at least the fight between Ghori and this Gehandawalas. After 1191, first battle of Panipat, first battle of Tarain, 1192, second battle of Tarain. After 2 years, there's a battle, Chanduwa, battle of Chanduwa between Jayachandra and Muhammad of Ghori, where Jayachandra was defeated and killed by this Muhammad of Ghori. This is only about that question only asked for exams. Then Pala dynasty, Bengal and Bihar. I told you Rajendra Chola came and defeated. Capital was Mangu was a capital. Mangul was a capital. Okay, otherwise it's called Mongu was a capital. They are mainly the promoters of Buddhism and all. Dharmapala was the most important capital, ruler. During this Pala dynasty times only, Vikramashila University was built there. So Pala dynasty times we have to remember what is that? Vikramashila University, which already broken by this other people and all these things. Nalanda University, Vikramashila University, all this and all. Later, Bakhtiyar Khilji came and spoiled there. Bakhtiyar Khilji actually was the military commander of Muhammad of Ghori. Okay, that you have to remember. Later he shifted and joined, he came to India lands. I'm talking about Bakhtiyar Khilji. Don't confuse with the Bakhtiyar Khilji belongs Khilji dynasty. He was a military commander of Muhammad of Ghori. So whenever we start talking about the Pala dynasty, you remember only Vikramashila University was made. That point is very important. This. Then the Sena dynasty, whenever start talking about the main points is there. Gita Govindam written by Jayadeva during the time of Sena dynasty. Their capital was in Bengal. We call it as a Leknauti, the capital. I not record Bengal, Bihar regions. You have to remember. I told you, Bakhtiyar Khilji, he conquered Bengal and Bihar without any war there. Without any war there. Okay, Bakhtiyar Khilji, he destroyed all the Buddhist universities and he was very cruel personalities about the Buddhist. Because of his things only, many Buddhist people, they disappeared from the land. Okay, that is one of the main reasons for the decline of Buddhism in Indian lands. Because of him, he started killing all the peoples. He started burning their monasteries. So he was so much cruel towards the Buddhist people in India. So many Buddhist people left the Indian subcontinents. We can say that was one of the reason that Buddhism declines in here. Then Rashtrakuda capital, first capital was Ellora. Don't forget Ellora caves. Remember Rashtrakuda. Khajuraho, remember Chandelas. Don't forget. It's very important. Mount Abu, Solanki. Don't forget. Okay, here Rashtrakuda, the founder, already we discussed, I think so. Dendi Durga was a capital. Sorry, Dendi Durga was their founder. Ellora was their capital. Ellora was their capital first. Later, capital shifted from Ellora to Manyakeda during the time of Amoghavarsha. So the first capital of Rashtrakuda was Ellora, then shifted to Manyakeda. Then question asked, what was the capital of Rashtrakuda? Remember Manyakeda or Manyakhanda. Both are same meaning. But remember first capital Ellora. Like first capital of Cholas, Urayu, then shifted to Tanjavur. Likewise, Rashtrakuda's capitals, it is actually, remember in the early medieval period, this was one of the greatest dynasty with the military power. This was one of the most powerful dynasty there. It is because of their military. One speciality of this Rashtrakudas was a rock cut cave architecture. That means Ellora caves. Most of the caves temples were made by this Rashtrakudas only. Founder of this dynasty was Dendi Durga. Don't forget, Dendi Durga himself made 2 caves there, 2 caves temples out of 36 Ellora caves. Ellora caves means combination of 36 caves there, out of which 2 caves Dendi Durga himself was constructed there. That you have to remember always. Okay, that is very important point which I want to discuss also. Some of the temples are Shiva temples also there. So Ellora means you have to remember Rashtrakuda. Mount Abu temple means remember Solanki. Khajuraho temple means remember Chandela. Then capital shifted from Ellora to Manyakeda after third ruler there. Don't forget. And I told you, Dendi Durga after Krishna first is coming. Krishna first. He built a temple which is actually a UNESCO recognized World Heritage Center. I think you might have heard also Kailasnatha cave temples. Why I want to tell this Kailasnatha temple, cave temple? Kailasnatha temple, it is a Kashi. In the Kailasnatha cave temples, it is recognized by UNESCO as a World Heritage Center. What is the speciality of this one? Largest, biggest, grandest cave temple in the world there. It is a replica, same like this Kashinatha temple or Kashinatha temple in where Kanchi. Okay, it's same like that, similarities. I'm talking about the Kailasnatha cave temples. It is constructed in a Satpura mountain range there, constructed by Krishna first, after Dendi Durga, Krishna first, then Amoghavarsha. So Dendi Durga founder, he started Ellora caves, Krishna first made Kailasnatha cave temples. Okay, it is one of the finest temples, largest temple, biggest cave temples in the world there. Then Amoghavarsha, he built a new city, Manyakeda, and shifted capital from Ellora to Manyakeda there. That points you have to remember always. Okay, this is very important. Then Krishna third. Okay, Krishna third. Why I want to tell about Krishna third there? He defeated Parandaka Chola in the battle of Takkolam after the title assumed as a Tanjavur Konda. See, Krishna third of Rashtrakuda assumed the titles Tanjavur Konda. Genge Konda is a Rajendra Chola of Chola dynasty. Similarly, Krishna third of Rashtrakuda dynasty, after defeating the Chola ruler Parandaka, he assumed the title Tanjavur Konda. Why it is called as Tanjavur Konda? Because Tanjavur was the capital of Chola dynasty. Chola ruler was defeated by Krishna III. So he got the title, he assumed the titles Tanjavur Konda there. Okay, I'm talking about the Rashtrakuda dynasty. So few points is very important about Rashtrakuda dynasty. The last ruler of Rashtrakuda dynasty was Karka. He was the last ruler. He was killed by one of the Samanta king. Okay, his name was Talaipa. And no new dynasty came into the power. We call it as a Kalyani of Chalukyas. Otherwise, Western Chalukyas. So after killing Rashtrakuta dynasty, last ruler Karka, then Chalukyas of Kalyani became very powerful dynasty there. So few points which I discussed here about Rashtrakutas, it is very important that you have to understand. The points what I discussed, it is the founder of Dandidurga was a founder. Two Ellora temple he made it. The speciality of Rashtrakuta was rock cut cave temples, especially Shiva temples. Then Krishna first he made a Kailasnada cave temples in Satpura region. It is the largest cave temples in the world, similar to the Kailasnada temple in Kanchi. Then Amoghavarsha, he made a new capital, Manyakeda, shifted capital from Ellora to Manyakeda. Okay, I'm going to finish now. It will not take 1 or 2 minutes, I'll take. Then Krishna III defeated the Chola ruler Parandaga and he got the title Tanjavur. Krishna III. Last ruler was killed by Samanta. Samanta means local ruler, and established the new dynasty which was known as Chalukyas of Kalyani, otherwise Western Chalukyas. Now Kalyani or Chalukya, that's the last point I'll share with you. Remember Kalyani of Chalukya dynasty. Whenever we discuss about that points, we have to remember only one point is there. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I want to talk about one of the main things about this Kalyani Chalukyas. I told you there are 4 different Chalukyas are there. Kalyani Chalukyas, Vengi Chalukyas, Solangi Chalukyas, that is Gujarat Chalukyas. Karnataka Chalukyas is known as Badami or Badami. There is a Vikramaditya 4. Vikramaditya means we remember always Chandragupta second was titled as Vikramaditya. Chandragupta second belongs to Gupta dynasty. He was known as a Vikramaditya. Already we discussed also. Here Vikramaditya 4 belongs to Kalyani of Chalukya. He was the most famous ruler. And don't forget about this one. When I want to talk about these persons. Why I want to tell about the Kalyani Chalukyas? You might have heard also Kalhana. Kalhana means the person who has written the Rajatarangani. Rajatarangani means the king of Kashmir. Rajatarangani, king of Kashmir. He started writing it was in criticism of all the Kashmir rulers and their approach. So Rajatarangani was written by Kalhana. He was a Kashmir personality. But during this Kalyani of Chalukya dynasty times, otherwise Western Chalukya times, the famous Kalhana, okay, he came to Deccan region there and wrote a book which was known as Vikramanga Deva Charita. Jayadeva I told you just before. Jayadeva wrote Gita Govinda. Similarly, Bilhana has written there Vikramanga Deva Charita. That is one of the famous which happens in Western Chalukya's times. That is one of the main points which I want to tell. Second one, during this Western Chalukya's times, we can see Hindu culture were promoted like anything throughout India, okay, except Bengal. Hindu culture, okay, that means during Western Chalukya times, remember, Hindu culture became more popular throughout India except Bengal region. That is one of the things which happened also there. Then when we wanted to talk about this personality, Somaswara III, he was the greatest scholar in Sanskrit. Okay, then finally what happened there? They declined because of the 2 other kingdoms came into power. But we have no much, only this point you have to remember about this one. Bilhana's arrivals from Kashmir to Deccan, and he wrote Vikramanga Deva Charita. Hindu culture became more popular. Another one, you have to remember about their dynasty got declines because of Yadava in Devagiri and Kakatiya dynasty in Warangals. Yadava dynasty capital Devagiri, Kakatiya capital was Warangals. Okay, this all about I want to tell. Time is already out of this one, so I can wind up now. If you are possible, please send a message to me so that I can take the class tomorrow at least 2 hours. We can have another areas also we can discuss. Anyway, Monday I will send this current affair. Only 4 or 5 information I will send it to you. Okay, by this we can wind down. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.